What's up, guys? It's Ron from Rohde Law, and we are super excited. We have Chris Helga with us. He is formerly known on Twitter and X as Gas Biz Guy. He has taken social media by storm of everything that he does, business and buying and selling real estate. So, Chris, thanks for joining.
Yeah, hey, I appreciate you having me on. It's always an honor that someone would think enough of me to have a conversation with them, because growing up the way I grew up and my resume, from school and the jobs I had and couldn't seem to hang on to, it's always great to have someone who says, hey, man, I want to listen to what you have to say, because even at home, nobody wants to listen to me. So this is great. This is all my privilege.
I start to feel that too. I have a 6-year-old and she gets some sass already. And I'm just like, where did you get this? You don't want to listen, but
it's usually hereditary, but probably comes from the wife's side. Basically what happened is my family was in the convenience store and gas station business. My dad retired in 1995. And when he retired in 1995, I bought 25% of his business from him. And that business, what it consisted of, was basically a 3-year lease on a gas station. So there was no real estate. He owner financed that for me. And I was able to take that business and really expand it. I didn't really have any plan. I was just kind of seeing what other guys were doing. So I went out and started buying more gas stations. But when I started buying them, I was buying them with the real estate. So I was buying gas stations with the real estate. And then I was like, the next step up is I need to be a distributor. So then I became a distributor. And so what a distributor basically is he is the guy who sells the gas to the gas station. So I just slowly worked my way up from a full service gas attendant in downtown Atlanta to eventually being, buying and selling gas stations. And at the end of it, it was, over 100 gas stations I was delivering and selling fuel to.
That's awesome. I mean, I think it really sums up what is possible when you combine somebody starting their own business and buying real estate. And you've really married the two together. Mm-hmm. How much do you think the real estate factors into your convenience store or gas station business?
So what I was able to recognize early on, one reason I got into distribution was the guys who ran the gas stations. We were all driving Jeeps and BMWs, and the guys who were supplying us, they were flying jets. Pretty obvious, like, hey, where the money was. So I determined that that's where I wanted to ultimately go. Because those guys were so successful, I had an opportunity to get around them a lot and hear their life stories and hear their business practices. One of the things that always stuck with me is one of the guys early on is he says, hey, basically what I do is I sell gas to gas stations, and that's my job. That's how that's how I pay my bills. That's how I support my house. But my wealth, it was through accumulating real estate. And it was also because of the advantages of owning real estate. They had a rapid acceleration on the depreciation schedule. And so they put all three of those pieces together, and they were really, these guys were able to build wealth quickly, because even before bonus depreciation was a thing, and, we were able to cost seg, we had 15-year depreciation schedules on these buildings, as opposed to most guys who own commercial buildings are 39 and a half years. So we were able to accelerate our depreciation, and therefore, it's basically an interest-free loan from the government until you sell it. So it was very powerful, but it was nothing I do was my idea. It was just watching people who are really smart and very successful in front of me and how they did it.
That's great. I mean, you mentioned something in the beginning, hanging around those guys and wanting to be like them. Mm-hmm. How is that a good way to inspire or motivate people that are, maybe I would say my level, like people in their 30s? You've had some time to work, you can make a little bit of money, you save a little bit of money, and you're investing. Business story porn on the internet. I get into these YouTube wormholes of just how I built this, and the largest chocolate distribution in the Western Hemisphere.
Well, I would say that there's probably no better person to get advice from than somebody who's actually done it. That was my issue with school. For those who don't know, I did not finish high school. Look, my kids are going to school. My oldest one he's going to law school. Like, I value education. It's important, but I couldn't get it. That's the person I was trying to learned how to do life from. Not that they were bad at life, but that was their version of life, and my version of what I wanted my life to look like were not the same. So when I was able to get out in the workforce, I was a beneficiary of, my dad was in the business, and I had 3 uncles who were in the business. So when we would get together at family things, and we were very close, we talked about this. How is your gas station doing? Well, here's how mine is doing. What are the things selling at your store? Well, here's what's selling at my store. And you could see, certain family members were better with money than others. And you could really, no one ever explained this to me and sat down and got a pen and paper out and said, this is how you do it. It was basically through osmosis. You listen to it, you surround yourself, and you learned it. So yes, if I'm somebody who is looking for how to advance myself, absolutely, I want to get around those people. A lot of opportunities. Listen, I've done a lot of great things, but I take nothing away from the people who help me. And there are a lot of people who owner financed me because they believed in me. When I needed to have access to inventory that the major oil companies, I didn't have the credit for them to support me. I was able to get it through relationships. So yes, relationships matter. Is YouTube viable and a decent place to look? Sure. It's pales in comparison to physically getting in front of somebody and talking to them, though.
I think of that because in my mind, I always have this kind of duality of what am I doing? Why am I doing this when I have enough or I have plenty? And it's a useful sharpening of what do I really want, because the goals are not material or quantifiable in any way, right? I want to grow a business, or I want to expand a reach to help more people invest in commercial real estate safely and don't get burned on your PSA when you don't have recourse. I would much rather help people do that and help as many people as I can, regardless of the money, right? Because if it's a milestone like that, it means nothing when you cross it and you look at the bank account. It's like, so I think there's very short-lived joy in that.
I would agree. I don't know. I'm assuming you've had this, because I know I'm not unique when it comes to how this has happened in life. You say to yourself at one point, you go, hey, when I get $1,000 together, I'm going to buy a TV or a new set of wheels for my car, or whatever it is, for $1,000. And you get the $1,000, and then you go, I don't want the wheels anymore. Okay. Because now you can get them. It's like, what's the big deal? So then, kind of time goes on and you start going, okay, when I get $100,000, I'm going to buy X. And then you get $100,000 and you kind of go, maybe that is no longer important to you. And so really what I like what you're hitting on, at least this works for me. Okay. This has worked great for me. I am not a goal-driven guy. I don't ever sit down and say, I need to have $1 million, $5 million, $10 million, $20 million. It is all about, the process for me. What do I like doing? Listen, it is very hard, and you know this firsthand. It is very hard for me to make appointments because I wake up almost every day and do exactly what I want to do. And so now I went up and you and I've got an appointment going, look, I want to do that. So yes, you have to make appointments, and yes, there's things that we really got to have to live by. But I have consumed myself with being as center as possible, because this is not what you're going to ever read in a business book, or it's not sexy, and it's not flashy, and it's not engaging, which is, people have to understand nobody has it all. Okay. And so for anybody who's looking at me and going, hey, that guy I don't have it all. And I can look at anybody who I engage and go, you don't have it all either. So the more I see somebody have their goal is only to be wealthy, or their goal is to only be the most, to be built like Atlas, or their goal is to be, I want to get, I'm the most spiritual person, or I'm the most whatever you do there, you're taking away from something else. So my thought was, if I'm hyper wealthy or I'm hyper social, I'm lopsided now. You know, what rolls smooth, you know, it's like a wheel, a circle rolls really smooth. So if I ever feel like I'm getting too far out, I may reel it back in, and I kind of go, look, I don't want to do that anymore. And again, I know this is not stuff that people go, yeah, I want to go be rich, man. Like, go get it. You know, if that's what you want to do, I'm not here to convince you otherwise. I'm telling you what works for me. And it makes it sound like, again, a circle. It's friction, less friction, you know, than a square or a rectangle. And so I have, in fact, my son, when he graduated high school, I did a speech for him. You know, we went to a great dinner, and my advice to my own children was, man, you know, fall in love with that process. Don't do things to be self-centered. Don't do things only to advance your own agenda. And you've got to be really, it's deeper than that. And that's why, you know, for anybody who follows me, understands, and you see, that's a cornerstone to what I do, is I want to help other people. But here's the irony of it. The more I've tried to help people, the more money has not been the focus, the more of it has been given to me. It's been a longer time since I was single than you, because I'm older than you, okay? But anyone can tell you, hey, if you want to have a date or you want to get a date, you don't walk into the bar and go, hey, and start talking to every girl. You walk in with a little bit of confidence. You're not in there looking for anybody. And next thing you know, somebody's coming to talk to you. And it's the same thing that happens in money and finances. And it just is. Again, I don't expect this to be popular, but it works for me, and it works. I would not do it any other way. I've been the other way. I know what happens.
No, I think that's 100% true. And I hear people, and it's the cringe of my generation. People talk about generational wealth. I'm like, what does that even mean? It's the stupidest goal that somebody could want as, you know, I think it's a curse on your children. You want to give them so much money that's so secure that they don't have to work, that they can't find you know, it's really weird to me that people want to give something to people that is bad for them, as opposed to what, that's what I would want to pass to my kids, is some of these cornerstone values that I don't care if my daughter becomes an artist and lives in you know, Pacific Northwest and only eats granola. But if she has those values and she has doing the things every day, and she doesn't pine for a life of saying, oh, I wish I would be so much happier if I lived in Hawaii. I'd be so much happier if I lived in Manitoba. You know what I'm saying? Whatever that is that they like to do, people can always strive and think they'd be happier with the nth version of it, as opposed to, can you pass down value? And I mean,
that's what we're here for, man. Yeah. And I can speak to, you know, I don't know how old are you?
39.
39, yeah. So I've got you by like 13 years, okay? And I have had 2 graduate college. Okay, or one's graduating now, and you know, one's about to graduate. One is going to be an attorney like you, alpha, type A, firstborn. You know, probably did the best job parenting him. My middle one's my daughter. She's going to be an artist. And my advice to never to any of them was, hey, I want you to be the wealthiest person in the world. Hey, listen, man. Listen, my kids, I don't talk about what all I got going on. They did not figure out really what I had kind of going on until I got on Twitter. They didn't know. Like, I don't want my kids, like, I dropped out of high school. I believe at my core, one reason why I did drop out of high school is because I really believed that I was going to get my dad's gas station. So it took the motivation away from me where, you know, hey, you know, Chris, you've done okay in life. Great. But what could I have been? What could I have been if I would have finished 8 years of school, you know, 4 more years of high school, 4 more years of college, and then, you know, what could I have been? And I'm not saying that to, you know, like, you know, for me. Like that's not the point. But that's something that people need to keep in mind. But to your point, I did not want my kids to ever think they got it made. And I didn't, and a, you know, generational wealth, look, if that's your goal, like, I'm not here to tell anybody what to do, like, but I'm not a bad guy for me saying, I just want my kids to learn how to work. And then it's incumbent on my kids to teach my grandkids how to work. And then if my daughter says she wants to be an artist, I send her to art school. It's very expensive. Okay. But I don't know what she's going to get out of it, but I don't care. If life is not about money, life is about being happy. It is, man. And you can probably reflect on times when you were in school and had no money, and you and your buddies were splitting a medium pizza with, you know, $5. You're happy.
You're happy.
You're happy as hell.
I mean,
I think everybody has their own path. Okay. And it would be wrong for me to say for my philosophy to be right for all of mankind. So I want to follow what I believe like my path is. So for me, and I've said this before, which is I jump in the river, I go where the current's taking me, and my fingers are crossed, it's going to put me in a beautiful state park with, you know, all kinds of things going. I don't want to go over the waterfall. I'm listening. But I believe that we're not here. Some of the most powerful advice anybody ever gave me was to be selfless. And so once you understand that the world is not about you, I understand your life, but when it's bigger than you, the bigger you become. Okay.
So I'll paraphrase with Shakespeare then. It's to thine own self be true, because that's the only person that thinks about your own happiness, and you're the only person that can author that path. Not your parents, you know, not your friends, and doesn't matter what you're doing. We could be working together to dig a ditch, but if we dig the best ditch that we could have done and we're exhausted every day drinking a beer, that's pretty much perfect for me. So to your point, yeah, you're closer to that sometimes in college or law school than you are working in a bigger company, or you're doing real estate by yourself. You know, that's one of the things I do like Twitter is sparking in-person connections, where so much of social media is not personal, but I've gotten to meet dozens of real life people.
I have no partnerships I'm in now. I have not done any for a very long time. Now I will say that I am fiercely independent, and is because I have enough self-awareness to know I'm not a great partner. Okay, because I'm very, very kind of like, no, we got to get this done this way, like in order for it to get accomplished. And I think what's happened with a lot of my partnerships is I was brought in for the capital and the expertise. I'm going, well, look, if I'm doing both, like, what do you bring in? You know, like, so I think I've just done a bad job of picking partners. Twitter has opened me up to that. I would do some partnerships because there's some people actually I've found on here that I would think I would enjoy doing business with. And I think I probably could have gone a lot further, you know, had I done some more partnerships. But because I'm independent in that way, you know, in my business that I run every day, I do whatever I can. My goal is I tell everybody who works there, like, look, I want to make this the best place to work I can. Like, it's, you know, hey, if you're making French fries, it pays $8 an hour. That's all it's going to pay. That's ever going to pay. If you have aspirations to make 50 an hour, look, fries, 8. That's where we're at. I wish I could pay you 50, but fries pay 8. I've always said, you know, I think I've respected everybody I work with and said, hey, you know, you're somebody's son or daughter or somebody's father. And I feel like it's wrong for me to abuse the power that I've been given to make somebody feel less than what they are, which is somebody's son or daughter or dad. And so by me respecting them, my turnover is very low. Now, conversely, if you come in, I will give you the energy you're giving me. So if you come in there and you're ready to fight, then okay, then that's what's going to happen. But if it's a I've got guys who work for me 10 years. We have never raised our voice with each other, not one time. If they did something wrong, I have tried to surround myself with people who, like, nobody, I mean, there are those people out there who are trying to scam. 90% of the people out there, they're trying to do their best. Like, if you have kids and they're playing sports, they didn't miss the basket on purpose. So if you get in the car and you start wearing your kid out going, oh, you got to make, of course they try. They didn't go, let me screw this up. And so it's the same with people you're working with. And you're going, now, if you got somebody who continues to screw up and you go, well, okay, well, I have to replace that person because now they're just not competent.
Well, I even try to take a first position blame, which is, how did the process fail them? How did my procedures, the checklist, maybe they didn't get certain information and they didn't make an initial determination because, I don't want my attorneys to hear this, but like, if McDonald's can operate $4 million of revenue through the restaurant using high school graduates and one manager, they process thousands of dollars of cash without losing all of them. They have a book and the procedures. I, as a law firm with, I think very intelligent, reasonably intelligent people, they should be able to do a great job. And so I try to look for my failures first, and it's only then if you didn't follow the procedure. If we put the procedures, we put the checks in place and you just still ignored it, that's the issue. But I try to take that procedural system failure first. That's my first assumption is, why did you draft it this way? Well, because you didn't know this fact and it wasn't in your file.
Right.
So,
and if this happens again and again, maybe it's not my process.
Yeah.
Maybe there's something else, and what can I do? But it's important. You cannot overstate that you do need to take a ownership. We say it all the time. Everything rises and falls on leadership. So if things are going poorly, it's you.
Yeah.
If they're going great, it's them. It's not everybody's designed to be this way. Thank God. Okay. Because, we cannot all, somebody has to count the money. Somebody has to do, all these different things. And if it's value, if the value in the sense of monetary value, well, then to become valuable, you have to make the person, your employer, that there's somebody actually sent a tweet, and I don't remember who it was, and I should, shame on me. If you want to make $100,000 a year, you need to make your boss 200. Okay. So as an employer, I would say that we love it when people come up with ideas. Okay. And generally, if you're working for a decent outfit, you'll get rewarded. Now, if you're somebody and you're saying what your value, you want your value to be as a human being, or as how I want my life to go, well, as long as you're working for somebody else, that's pretty much not going to happen. Okay. Because you are working for somebody else, but that's okay, because when 5 o'clock hits on Friday, it might as well be 8 a.m. on Tuesday. Like, there's no difference to me. Or in my industry where we run 24 hours a day, I have not been able to mentally check out since 1995.
is that something you would want to do?
I did in 2016. Okay. So there is some untruths in there. Okay. Which is, in 2016, I sold just about everything I had, kept my real estate, kept my trucking company, but I hired these guys and I was like, look, if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. I don't care. The liability kept me up at night, but whether it made money or not, because I'd already accomplished that by selling the company. So I don't think I have the ability to, nor do I want to turn it off. I would like for it to be, I'd like it to be, what is the word I'm looking for? I would like to have the opportunity to do that, but it's, and actually what happens is people, I want to be this big company, this. Careful what you ask for, because the bigger that company gets, it's real hard to get out of.
Yeah. I mean, I think people that want big, how can you be the world's richest man and he's stressing about Tesla production? I think he is stressed, and he may have more stress than you or I, which is unfathomable in a way that he's like, well, I care about all these people. I care about my goals, but he could be stressed as the world's richest man, as what, 200 billion something dollars. And that to me is crazy, except for, I think he knows himself pretty well, and he enjoys it. He loves difficult problems. He loves taking a shot at people who, chip on the shoulder kind of thing. People say you can't do it, and he's set out to prove them wrong. And he knows that that's how he's built, and he will work 18 hours a day until he solves that problem. And that's just who he is. So I'm not saying he's unhappy, but it's kind of crazy to me that, okay, so at your level, you say, I'm still thinking about certain things, but I don't need to disconnect in a way of like no email and not thinking about the business, because that's just not something that's super desirable for you.
Well, and one thing that happened to me, and I don't think this has happened to you, but when you go broke, you always think you're broke. Okay. So no matter how much I have, I feel like I have no money. I never wake up and go, oh, I got it made. I have a superstition that if you are gluttonous and you are flashy, about how you are with your money and your success, that you will be punished for it. Like, call it a superstition, call it what you will. So I'm very, very, very careful with that. Which would go to how come I'm doing, and anybody who follows understands this Gas Biz Guy 9/11 challenge I'm doing.
We got to talk about the Porsche, because have you had a Porsche in a prior? No, this is your first.
I never have, but there's a reason, and there's a lot of reasons. One is I did not want to. When somebody wants to come to me and wants a raise, okay. When I go to a customer and I have to have a rate increase, look, my customers are all watching me. My employees are all watching me. So I'm doing the way I'm doing it. So I can say, look, y'all saw it real time what I did. I mean, like, I went out there, bought some property and flipped it. So when anybody's saying, hey, Chris, you hit me on the rate, or hey, Chris, you didn't give me a raise. Like, this is outside of business. This is just what I do. And then personally, if I don't make this challenge, I'll never buy it. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So some people have a garage full of cars. I've got, these trailers are $150,000, $130,000 a piece. I've got acres of them. So, and they're not financed. So I pay, instead of me buying a Porsche every month, I'm buying a trailer. That is how I did it. So I made a goal. So look, I was broke in 2008, and I was able to retire in 2016. How can you do that so fast? That's not possible. I went through and I made my goal was this: I'm going to pay off my house. I get my house paid for. I'm going to put my money aside for my wife and I. And then I made those things happen. All that stuff has happened now. So they call it risk management. So I was like, house secured. And everybody's going to say, I got a 2% mortgage. Okay, great. Do you? Like, I can tell you the only guy who told me, I remember my CPA, he said, you need that. You need that interest write-off. You need this. You need this. He's still working. And I can stop any day I want to. And it's not, and I know I'm the dumb money. I get it. I'm the dumb guy. Like, okay, I can accept it. But by putting the priority and making the main thing, now I'm cutting out this risk off money. If I go below $1 million, these stores I bought, if it all blows up in my face, it's risk off, man. Like it doesn't matter. And so now I can take this opportunity to kind of get crazy and start doing some things that are, maybe it'll be fun, it'll be big. But first thing, house done, all my stuff, cars, everything done. Now we can go have fun. And so that was my priority. And so, yeah, I've been very, very, I do have stuff, I have my toys, but, it was like, hey, I know how it is at your house, but I go spend, $50,000 on a muscle car. Well, somebody else needs $50,000 for something around the house. Okay. And
that bathroom needs to be redone.
it needs to be redone. I want a fence at that. So anyway, I'm real mindful of all that. So, I don't know, I'm funny like that, but that's how I do it. So this is all part of the challenge. This is all part of the, work in progress. And I get to show people how it's done.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's some merit to, you might have a mentality of you're always broke, but you're still able to reward yourself, because if you don't have anything nice or you don't do anything, what's the point of making all this money? I mean, it really, you don't need to spend everything. You don't need a plane and a big boat and a big house,
Right.
but just get something that you like. And
I can't say I've done without anything. Like, I had to play catch up too. So like my kids, I had no 529 plan. I check for it every month, For my, I have a lake house that's paid for. I have a boat that's paid for. So all those things were, and so it's very hard too, when you're not out leveraging, to continue to grow, because you're going, well, yeah, you can't put down 20% and get, that. But I have some of my commercial properties. I'm probably 5% leverage or something like that, like very, very low, so I don't, again, and that's all like those wounds that I go, hey, I don't ever want to be broke again. I don't ever want the mortgage company to come put a note on the door again. I don't ever, I don't ever want that. That cannot happen.
Yeah, I think there's definitely a shift when I was, again, the eager, young 30s, going to conquer the world and maximize this and optimize all this returns. And I would look at older people that I knew, like family or whatever, that had paid off rental properties. And I'm like, you have a $5 million warehouse free and clear. Why the heck are you doing that? It's because they don't want a boss. And they said, when you have a mortgage, you have a boss. And I never understood that in terms of, you could refi, you could borrow 50% leverage, you could redeploy that capital, you could just put it in the stock, like all these things. And they're like, for what, Ron? For an incremental 2%, 3% return? They're like, it's not worth it for me. I just don't want a boss.
I don't like walking into the loan to get a loan and them questioning me about all these things. And you're going, I don't want to have to explain myself. Like, either give me the money or don't.
Yep.
If you don't, that's fine. But I understand business isn't done that way. So it's very hard for me to do that. And look, again, let the bank come take your house, then you tell me what it is. Okay. Until then, I know you. And here's the funny thing about it, man. Pay attention to the people I'm giving the advice. Just pay attention. The guys who are saying, hey, my home is paid for, and the guys who are saying it's not doing this, and you're okay, you're that disciplined one who's taking the money and you're putting in the stock. Okay, you're that rare guy. Cool. That's awesome. 99% of the people are not doing that. But we're the guys that everybody's looking at going, like, that's what I want to, that's the point I want to get to.
Mm-hmm.
And so you kind of go in, well, maybe how we started the conversation, being around people who have smarts, who have done it, like, these are the people I need to listen to. Okay. And don't listen to me. I don't care. Like, I always tell people, don't do what I do. Like, it's like,
do you think it was particularly risky, some of the decisions you made in hindsight, or?
Oh, absolutely. Naive. No one ever explained any of this stuff to me. I'm self-taught everything. I'm self-taught. Did I have family who was in the industry? I did. And that would be my cheat code, I guess, is I listened to that stuff. I could have gone and played Xbox, or an Xbox, but it was Nintendo or whatever it was back then, Atari. But I didn't. I took that opportunity to learn from them. And I don't know, everything's self-taught. I've figured all this stuff out. I was stupid, and I was chasing the wrong thing, which was I was trying to be, I had something to prove to the world. You're going to be a loser. You're never going to do anything. So your motivation's wrong. And so if that's your motivation, it'll catch you, man. I promise you. Maybe not today. It's not going to happen on your time. It's not going to say, oh, it's convenient for it to catch me today. No. It'll catch you when, you're over here and you.
Well, Chris, I really enjoyed the time. I think for a closing remark, we talked about hanging out and getting with those people. What's your advice for the value that somebody younger, again, if there's not a natural thing, what would you say is effective in getting that time with somebody that you want to be like?
So there are ways to go about it. Number one is, if it's a high value person, we want to tell our story. Number one, for the most part, we want to help people. We can sense, for the most part, if you're being disingenuous. And if you have a real, I can sense that you really do want to learn, I'll give you some time. If you're over here to maybe just express your own opinions, may not have time for that. Like, that's not what I signed up for. You need to put yourself in a position to get around those people. So in my case, I had family, but we were all convenience store operators. We were not high level people. We were not rich people. So what was the next level? Well, it was associations. So in my industry, it was the Oilmen's Association. How do I get around these people? I need to go play, go fish with them or go do with it and you get into these associations. That was important. If you're somebody who's trying to get into real estate, you need to go to the real estate association meetings. A couple $100 a year for a membership. And that is the best time you can spend. People that your kids go to school with. You find those people, you see the people, not who's driving necessarily a nice car, but and the other thing is that you have to understand, pay attention. There's clues are being dropped all the time. You just have to be open to see them. And so you have to be, you kind of create your own reality, so to speak. Like, you start seeing people who are doing things right and you need to try to figure it out. And next thing you know, it's like you're surrounded by these people. One of the benefits I was very privileged to do is I sent my kids to a very good private school. And through that private school, I was surrounded by some of the best guys. And I would take that time to ask the guys, hey man, what was the secret? Like, what did you do? And I've got a little list of things. And one of the things when we talk about people is, hey, your friends are your elevator. They either go up or they go down. So you choose people who are going up. If we're going down, they'll bring you down. And so that was just, it's just simple little stuff. And the reality is, it's not that complicated. This stuff is really, everything, is like these spreadsheets, and simplify it, man. And because if something happened to you, who's going to take care of it? Your wife got to go break out a Excel spreadsheet and a PowerPoint to try to, run this thing, man, you're doing it wrong. So it's all very, it's not that hard. So I don't know.
I think what I'm taking away from it is it's simple because you're eliminating a lot of the end destination or the goals that are fake, that aren't real. And when you strip it down, it's simple because it's just about establishing your values of trying to help people, bring value to some other people. And you can do that in the associations. And then once you've established those, it's just constantly working in the middle, but then also being happy in the middle, because there's no difference between stage 2 and level 99 when you're in the middle, because then you're there. You've kind of achieved.
If you enjoy the process, being in the middle is right where you want to be.
There you go. That's the short. That's going to get summed up. So
so that's where you want to be. But I had a great thought, and because I have ADD, it escaped me. But if I was to tell anybody that, it's not that hard. And the more of that kind of noise you get able to filter out, it gives you more energy to invest in things that you can be productive in, and it just works. And like I said, I'm a walking testimony that it does work. Because look, I don't claim to be smart. I don't claim to be anything other than trying to do the right thing. And because I do my best, what I think is the right thing. It seems like I get rewarded very heavily for it. There's no other explanation.
Yeah. Well, Chris, awesome conversation. I learned a lot. I greatly appreciate your time with me, and we will put your links down below if people want to follow you on Twitter. You've got your awesome YouTube channel where you can follow along the gas station to a 9/11 series, and we can cheer you along for that. But again, thanks for tuning in, and any final words?
Hey guys, if I could give you any one bit of advice, just burn more gas. Okay.